Welcome to the Protecting Your Retirement Radio Show, right here on Talk Radio 640 WGST. Are you frustrated with the ups and downs of the stock market? Not sure how to invest your hard-earned retirement money? Each week, we'll look at the money-saving tips you need to know to have a successful retirement. Now, from the heart of Buckhead, here's your host, wealth coach, and financial advisor, David Nicholas.
Good afternoon, Atlanta. We are excited to be here. I'm your host, David Nicholas. We had a great show last week. We had quite a few calls, and we actually had a couple of co-hosts with us. They'll be back with us here in a couple of weeks, but we've got a great show in store for you guys today. Just a little bit about myself before we dive in. I'm a registered rep with TCM Securities. I'm an investment advisor representative with Triumph Wealth Management. My firm is based here in Atlanta. It's Nicholas Wealth Management, and we've got two locations. We got one in Atlanta. Our north office is in Woodstock, Georgia. If you're listening here, this radio station goes all over Georgia, but you may be listening on the iHeartRadio app that goes really all over the country. So if you're not in Georgia, that's okay. We've got clients literally all over the United States. Wherever you're at, there's a very good chance that we can help you. But a lot of what we'll be talking about in this show is experiences with actual client success stories, what we've done for our clients, and how we've helped impact their lives from a positive standpoint with their finances. But this week we've got a special guest with us. We always start the show out with saying how you've got to have your perspective in the right place. You can have the best financial plan in the world, but if your foundation isn't correct, your perspective isn't right, ultimately that financial plan is not going to be complete. But we talk about different organizations and charities that you can give to. There's one today that I'm excited to talk about. And with us on the phone is a special guest we've got. It's Kalman Kovacs. Him and his wife, Juliana, are actually missionaries from Hungary. And what they do is they serve specifically on the campuses in universities in Hungary, and they're spreading the gospel where it's needed most. I'll tell you, they are two of the most gracious, kind people that you'll ever meet. But we've got Kalman here with us today on the line. We're going to talk to him for a couple of minutes. Kalman, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Great, Kalman. Well, just as we dive in, tell us a little bit about your ministry in Hungary. And you guys are directly on the college campuses, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We are on the field. We work personally on about 3 or 4 campuses. Our whole team works at about 12 campuses, 3 major ones and a few minor campuses all around Budapest, the capital of Hungary.
Gotcha. And these aren't Christian universities. I mean, these are public, secular universities, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, Kalman, tell me, how did you guys get started in this ministry? I mean, were you raised in a Christian home? Did you grow up in the faith, or is this something that you kind of found and then dived into it?
Well, it's very funny. My wife and I have 2 very, very different stories. My story goes something like this. I grew up in an atheist family. I lived through the fall of communism in Hungary as a teenager, and I really never heard of God or the gospel presented to myself or in any other way, in a group or in a personal way, from anyone until I was about 14 years old. And even that opportunity came because this was in 1991, right after 2 years after communism fell in Hungary. A lot of things were coming in from the West to Eastern Europe, and a lot of good things, a lot of bad things. One of the things that came in that was very interesting for us as young kids, was American football, and we began to learn about American football and got really excited about playing it. So we played it with a soccer ball because we didn't have a real football, So
you would throw the round soccer ball in the air?
That's correct. And it was really funny and really awkward, but we enjoyed it a lot. And one day, a group of college students from America came up to us in a park where we played normally. And they played with us. We had a really good time. And afterwards, they shared the gospel with us. And this was the first time I'd ever heard, and I really didn't speak very much English at the time. And I thought, well, if this even makes any sense to me, it probably is a fairy tale. It sounds like a fairy tale to me. So I wish it was true, but it's probably not. So I should just kind of forget about it. That was my initial reaction.
Wow.
Now, I believe God was searching me, and God was really coming after me, because about 2 years later, I was in a military school. I was studying in a military school system in Hungary, and I actually ended up in a camp that was done in the military school system, again, by Americans, first wave of missions that were coming into Hungary, doing an English camp in the military school system, but they also talked about God.
Wow.
This was really the second time I heard about God and the gospel. And because I had a good experience, the first time, I didn't turn them down. I thought, well, I'd be interested in hearing them again. But this time, God really grabbed my heart. And at the end of the camp, they showed a film about Jesus. It's the Jesus film that was done by Campers Crusade. And watching that film really helped me understand the message of the gospel and my reaction, what I need to do.
Wow.
And I was ready.
And from then, I mean, you and your wife both dived right in full-time to the ministry, correct?
Well, it was a few years later, but yes, my life came not long after that, when I understood from Scripture that we are ambassadors for Christ, and we are entrusted with the word of truth, and we have to. If we don't take it to them, who's going to take it to them?
It's a great point. And on that subject, how big is atheism in Hungary? I mean, is it a majority of the students atheist? What is it over there?
Well, actually, atheism is growing in Hungary. Most of the students come from families where, they have a Catholic background,
okay.
Mostly culturally Catholic. So the grandparents went to church. The parents probably don't go to church, maybe once a year. And the children, the young people, they may go once in a lifetime, or every once in a while, but they really don't go very often, and they really have no concept of Jesus. So whenever I sit down and even talk to those who are not atheists, they claim themselves Catholic, and we talk about God, and I ask them, who do you think Jesus was? The reaction most of the time is, I really don't know how he fits into this whole Christianity. And that is something that my heart pounds for, and I really want to tell them who Jesus is, and I do tell them.
Well, and are the students receptive to Christianity, or is it something that they kind of have a front up at first?
They are very open to spiritual conversation, so they really want to know more. And when they hear more, they're usually surprised because they have not heard the gospel message. Most of these kids have no idea about the real Jesus, about the truth of the gospel. And so it will usually surprise them, or at least give them new information for them to, digest and think about. So they're definitely open.
Good. What would you say your biggest challenge is to spreading the gospel in Hungary? Is it being able to get on the campuses? Because you guys have a pretty good influence on the campus, but what would you say the biggest challenge that you guys face?
Well, I would say one of the biggest challenges is being on the campus. However, we have fairly good freedom. We can walk around on campus unofficially many times because the schools wouldn't allow us normally. But the campuses are open, so anyone can really come and go. And we actually have been able to build fairly good relationship with some of the universities and dorms. So it's actually not as hard anymore. I would say probably one of the most difficult things for us is so many things taking the attention of the students. They're going to college. They're studying at school. But there's so many parties, so many new things, so many drugs and girls and just a lot of different things. Right. And of course, a lot of different religions are now present. So many things are competing for their attention and their time. And most of the students in Hungary are just so busy. Their time is so full that it's hard to even find time with them.
Well, and you shared with some of the numbers with me earlier this week about students that have accepted the gospel. Do you mind sharing some of those numbers with you? I don't know if you have them in front of you, but you guys have seen some great success on these campuses in Hungary, have you not?
Yes, we have. we do a lot of personal evangelism, which means we are walking around on campuses and initiating towards students. We walk up to them. We use a simple survey to start a conversation, which leads into a question of, would you be interested in knowing more or hearing about God and Christianity? And most of the times, I would say 95% of the times, we have an answer, yes, I would be interested. And so then we get to tell them the gospel. And we have, I would say in an average year, looking back this past year, we have shared the gospel on a personal level. That means we, as staff, and also our students who are sharing their faith with their fellow students, have shared the gospel with close to 4,500 people on a personal level.
Wow. And over what time span was that?
That was about a year.
That was just this year alone. Wow. Well, Kalman, I'll tell you, as we wrap up the segment here, radio listeners, I don't do this a lot, but I do this because as for the church here in America, this is a great opportunity to do something for the kingdom of God in a place, in a part of the world where resources are scarce and, they're hard to come by. I'll tell you, there are many organizations out there that get hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars who are not in that dire need financially. I can tell you, we've got two missionaries here, Kalman and Juliana, and they're in the trenches. They're in there daily in one of the hardest mission fields I can think of, the university setting, where atheism dominates. And I'll tell you, and where young people, they're desperate for the need of the truth and of the gospel. They're seeking it. And I'll tell you, folks, this is an opportunity that, we can get them to hear the gospel and get lives dramatically changed. Now, Kalman, what's the number? There's a number that they can reach. You guys will be in the country for another couple of weeks, correct?
Yes, we will.
Okay, what's the best number? I've got the number here. The number to call, Kalman, and I'll tell you guys, there's no amount is too small to support. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, if you're thinking that, there's no amount that's too small. The number to call is 404-388-2082. And if you don't get there, it's okay. Just leave a message with your name and telephone number, and we'll contact you. I mean, even me, I will personally drive. If you're going to make a claim of amount, I will personally drive and help pick up a check to support Kalman and Julia. So that number again, 404-388-2082. That number again, 404-388-2082. Well, Kalman, thanks so much for sharing with us. I hate it was short, but we appreciate you guys. And is there any way that we can pray for you specifically?
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. Thank you for your time. Thank you for this opportunity. And please pray. We are here for 2 more weeks. We have to, basically, one of our biggest prayer requests, we have to get to 100% of our support. We're at 75%. And we have a few weeks to go, and we definitely pray to reach our goal, okay, so that we can go back and continue our ministry and not have to, again, stop and continue our support. However, we love doing this too. Please pray for our family. It's always difficult to travel and just be outside of our country. We have our little girl, Zoe. She's 9 months old with us. And it's just not as easy, but we really, really enjoy it. And so please pray that we'll be healthy and we have the strength. And pray for our ministry, please, that as we go back and even as we're gone, that there will be lives changed. There are many discipleship groups have started and are going right now. I really miss them. And so this is something, again, to pray for.
Well, we absolutely will, Kalman. That number again, 404-388-2082. Kalman, thanks for being with us. We'll be back after the break.
Thank you. Bye.